All right, everybody, we are getting started here in a few seconds. I'm just waiting for the Facebook Live to kick in, and as soon as it does, we will be ready to rock. Thank you for everybody for joining. We got a lot of people jumping on the line tonight, so just get ready to get going, and we'll be rocking and rowing. So let me just get this down. I'm just typing in some. There we go. I'll have to do that kind of all that little stuff that they want for us. All right, let's go live. See if we've got that. And let me just turn that up. Okay, good. That's good. And we should be ready in just a moment here. As soon as I get that thing, it's just taking a little bit of time. Lots of people jumping on board. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Boom. I think we're operational. Excellent. All right. So as we start everything else, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Wei-T Lightheart from the Prosperity Health and Health Alliance, calling you, talking to you, broadcasting live from the Vortex in Sedona, Arizona. It is early May. And we are into almost 2 months of a lockdown. Some of the places are opening up under the social distancing rules. We are experiencing the loss of our rights, the loss of our freedoms. Unelected officials are controlling the narrative using mathematical models and theories that have been proven to be false, that have been proven to be overblown and ineffective. I am not here to minimize the damage or the tragedy of people who have died from this pandemic. However, that being said, we are on the front lines of economic Armageddon, folks. Make no mistake about it. And we're gonna go through some things here that I never imagined in my lifetime that we would have to face, although I will say I did write a bit about this about 6 years ago in a book that I wrote, that there could potentially be some calamic event that would trigger an unraveling of the world economic form, because the models that had been used to build and grow and drive business for the last 50 years are changing in the digital age. And it's funny, you can check out, if you want more information on that, I would encourage you to listen to Eric Weinstein's portal, where he interviews Peter Thiel about some of the physics and some of the economic models that are involved in that. If you're very sophisticated, if you're not interested in that kind of things, you can kind of just get the message, or the I would say the synthesized version here on the Prosperity and Health Alliance. I'm going to share my screen because I know some people want to follow along with a post that we have. I will not be able to answer all of the text and questions on Facebook, but I would encourage you to do that. I will get to those questions, those texts, those forwards, those likes and everything afterwards, so that we can get this message out to the Enagic distributors. So there is a message of hope. There is a message, there is a plan, there is a strategy. It's been proven historically to overcome this current challenge and to meet the challenges of this full-on economic Armageddon. And believe me, the virus, if you think the virus was bad, the economics are going to be worse. But here's the good news. The good news is that the best time to build and grow a business, especially if you're just getting started or whatever, or you've just been in the business for a while, or you're coming back to it because maybe you lost your job, or you're not sure if your business is going to open or whatever. The best businesses and the most growth happens in the most difficult times. And I do believe that Enagic distributors are actually really well positioned to have perhaps the greatest growth ever in company history. And let me explain how that's going to work. But let me share my screen so we can walk through this together. So here we go. Rock and roll. We don't have a lot of time to get through this. We're going to go through it. So let's just, let's move this to view mode so it's a little bit better. I'm just going to play this. play slideshow. There we go. Okay, look, the bottom line is this. The fight for freedom is on. I mean, did you ever imagine that your constitutional rights would be trampled on by our unelected officials? I never imagined that. Can you believe the level? And people are starting to get upset. Now, I understand there's a pandemic, and in the early stages, we had these people saying that millions of people were going to die and that this thing was going crazy. Okay, you locked it down. You started to figure things out till we got some data. But over and over again, the theoretical models, which coming from questionable sources, have been proven wrong. Did you ever think, or do you know of somebody? Do you know of somebody whose business is finished off? Do you know somebody whose job is not coming back, or they've lost it, or their source of income has been destroyed thanks to the lockdown? How many people here, raise your hand if that's true. It's like, say yes, text yes. How many people of that? Yeah, a lot of people. I was reading recently that if you look at the numbers, 67% of the United States, and by the way, this is a carryover to Canada and Mexico and our partners around the world, but I'm going to use US numbers because that's what I have access to more frequently. 67% of people are employed by small businesses. About 25% of those businesses have enough cash flow to handle about 2 weeks of shutdown, and about 75% is less than a month. We're well over a month. Now with the new social distancing policies that are going to be in place for restaurants and gyms and these areas where a lot of the public is employed, guess what? They're not going to be able to make it. They're not going to be able to make the rents. I was also listening that 60% of the rents in states like New York City are not being paid. There's the default rate on rents. That's all going to come too. That's going to trigger a financial collapse in the real estate market. I'm going to get to more of that in a minute. Bottom line, the virus is one thing. The economic consequences far, far, far worse. And that's why we've got to be prepared. We've got to focus, and we've got to have a plan. Now, the question is this. Have you figured out how to get your family, your community, your state, your country, and the world out from under the heavy hand of censorship, debt, and economic collapse? Make no mistake. Make no mistake. You cannot count on your elected officials. There is one big problem here that people aren't recognizing. Your local, your state, and your federal governments are handcuffed by a medical model because they're terrified they are going to get the wrong mistake. They're going to do the wrong things, and there's going to be death on their hands, and they're going to be sued and all this sort of stuff because we live in such a litigious society and nobody wants to take responsibility for themselves, and everybody wants to play a victim and sue everybody else, the perpetrator. This state of consciousness, this victim mentality, is what's absolutely creating this pandemic and the sense of helplessness. Look, none of these constitutional fights are going to, there's going to be lawsuits, and none of them are going to stand. You can't even go to court. The courts are locked down. So you know what? There's more of us than there is of them. People have to stand up and peacefully protest, but they need to do this in a smart way, in a way that makes economical sense and doesn't blow up everything in their life permanently. So how do you do that? Let me just take a couple of numbers. Look at this right now. This is, why do I think this is so bad, and why do I think this message is so important, and why I think you need to be extra, triple, quadrupled, and quintupled motivated to go out and start to talk to people in your neighborhood, in your area, around the world, online and in your town. Because here's the reality. Right now, car loans are over $1 trillion in debt owed in this country. Student loans over 1.6 trillion in debt. There's over 1 trillion in credit card debt. Okay, so there's $3.6 trillion right there. Plus, they just added another $6 trillion to the debt in order to pay out these stimulus packages, right? The Fed has merged with the Treasury. They're printing money like it's going out of style. That's going to probably create a run on fiat currencies. 40% of small businesses, I said, were in danger of never reopening or opening at compromised rates and will collapse over the next 6 months. Retail is dead. J. Crew just filed for bankruptcy. Some of the gyms out there I've seen filed for bankruptcy. I've seen Gold's Gym, where I train, looking at restructuring many of the gyms that they have. The house lending requirements has just moved to a 700 FICO score with a 765,000 max limit on houses with 20% down payment requirements as of now. The big industries are shoring up their corners in their banks because they know this is going to be 8 times 1,000. Okay, way bigger, way more impactful, and it's going to smash Ma and Pa America right in the mouth. But not those who are prepared and ready to make the transition and to leverage the economic business model that we have available to each and every one of us in Enagic business. Thank God for that. Now, I'm going to refer to this. I've talked about this in many talks. There is a case of this that we can look back to in not too distant history. For those who don't know, there is a fella in the name of India, in India, who is known as Mahatma Gandhi. He was a lawyer who challenged the British government for apartheid, which was an unconstitutional act by the rights and freedoms set forth. And he was in South Africa. He was jailed. He got out of that stuff. Then he went back to his home country of India. And at that time, there were 700 million Indians who were under the tyranny of British rule. And Britain had taken over the country and had dominated the culture. It was a very wealthy country before that. And most people know Gandhi for his peaceful protests. In other words, I'm certainly not suggesting anybody get violent or do any of that sort of stuff. That's crazy. You don't need to do that, because when you relegate to that, then that's a problem. That's always a last resort. And don't think that's necessary. You have to realize that peaceful disobedience to rules violating constitutional rights is your civic duty. And he was able to understand that. And I do believe that we are in the same situation in the industrialized democracies of the Western Hemisphere, whether you're in Canada or Mexico or United States, or if you're in the UK, or you're in any one of these, or in India or whatever, you're in the industrialized democracies that have produced more prosperity and wealth for humanity than any other model in the history of the planet. What is happening to us, in my opinion, this is my opinion, is unconstitutional. And it's the fear and conditioning that we have that makes us believe that we can't do anything about it. It's very simple. You just peacefully protest and say, no, I'm going to open my store. I'm going to open my restaurant. I'm going to go do my thing. I'm going to go down the beat. And you know what? Fine, me, sue me, whatever, keep moving. They're not going to be able to handle it. They're not going to be able to throw everybody in jail. It's not going to work that way, but you have to stand up and you have to face the fear. But here's the part that most people don't understand. And it is put on the spinning wheel of the Indian flag. So keep in mind that Gandhi did support the British in their war against the Axis powers during World War II, and shortly after, because he understood that you needed to align with people to fight for what's right. Right now, there is an ideological war going on in the world, which is Chinese communism versus Western democratic capitalism, okay? So groupthink versus individual liberty. And the bottom line is many of our institutions and many of our organizations have been subterfuged by these communistic ideas that have been propagated. And we are seeing the tyranny as people are being removed from the internet. They're being removed from Facebook. They're being removed from YouTube. And there are lawsuits coming in regards to this. Beyond that, let's not worry about that. Let's just talk about your life and how this impacts you. Just be aware that what's happening and how serious this is. Okay, this is what happened in Nazi Germany. This is what happened in communist Russia. This is what happened in communist China. Look at the history books, read the history books, watch some stuff online and find out about this. Yes, it's come to America. It's an ideological war, and you're sitting in your house locked down from something that doesn't make any sense from any mathematical model that is ever out there. And it's done so in order to supply economic reality to private interests and for people who do not have your best interest in mind. Make no mistake, the history of the world is the history of one psychopath after another trying to dominate and take over the world. They're not subject to the emotional requirements that we are. So be aware of that. So Gandhi understood this, and he was able to fight that with civil disobedience, but he also knew that you could be broken economically. If you are starving, if you are hungry, and if you do not have your health, you become pliable, you become manipulatable, you become weak, because when people have been weakened through food or economic shortage or information shortage, guess what? You can't react, you can't respond, you're compromised. And so taking care of your health and taking care of your finances are two critical components so that you can withstand an all-out, resistance to these tyrannical structures. And we have that thing. So what he suggested to the Indian people was to create a cottage industry, essentially a home-based business industry using the spinning wheel by producing the textiles that were currently, all the materials are being shipped to England at the time, and they were being reproduced and sent back and sold to the Indian people. He said, take that model back, right? Use the industrialized democracy methodology and produce at home. This is the same thing that we are. We are geopolitically and geostrategically dependent on communist regimes who have exported low-cost technology, low-cost labor to the world to sell our own stuff back to us. And fortunately, we are aligned with a strategic geographic partner who believes in the economic democratic policies, and that is our Japanese partners who are helping us in this march towards freedom. And I do believe there is an economic revolution going on. So like India embraced that, we need a home business strategy to create economic prosperity that can produce economic independence, even in the middle of a complete and utter lockdown, because the chances that we're going to get a second wave and maybe even a third wave is quite likely, because the same people that gave us the stupid models that didn't work, guess what? They're predicting this, and they're holding the proverbial guns to the head of our elected officials who are paralyzed by fear that they're going to run into some trouble, or they're not going to get reelected, or it's going to look bad on the television. The television, depending on which channel they are, these are propaganda arms for both sets of political parties. This is not a political statement, it's a fact. And if you want to learn about that, read Propaganda. Propaganda is a book that was written at the turn of the century in the 1920s, and it has been the de facto guide of how you can get covert mind control of the population, to control them and to engage in behavior that doesn't make any sense. And right now, the behavior that we are engaging in doesn't make any sense. I do not say that lightly. I've literally done hundreds of hours and seen virtually every side of the equation, and I've come to this conclusion organically. I do not say these things or make these flippant statements. I don't care about the politics of it. I'm recognizing about the personal freedoms that are involved in this. So what is the strategy for independence? What is it that you need to do? How do you need to take advantage of this? First and foremost, you need to get out of debt. You need to reduce all of your debt costs for whatever you can do. If you can, if your car lease is running out, there's going to be great deals on used cars. The stock market for used cars is just getting piled up. They can't move them. They've already dropped 10%. You're going to get great cars and great deals. They're going to be outrageous deals for that. Do not go into getting into any more debt on that side. Second, you need a strategy to build long-term income. According to these quote unquote medical experts, we're going to be in this for the next 18 to 24 months, probably long. The economic depression could last even longer. Who knows? The bottom line is, if you prepare for the long haul, guess what? You're better positioned to overcome things in the short term. And we're going to talk about how you're going to actually profit from this economic uncertainty, how you're going to leverage the fear and turn this into independence. That's what the 1776ers who founded this country, when they signed that document, the Declaration of Independence, you have to realize that they would die if they lost. If those founding fathers of the nation, when they signed that, essentially, this was considered treason against their tyrannical regime, the British Empire at the time. okay, that was owning them, and they were willing to fight for it. They had to start a war. We don't have to fight a war. We just have to not obey, right? Gandhi figured out a better way to do that, okay? Through just, hey, we're not going to do this thing. So recognize that. They also had to look at creating economic independence, and that was the whole thing was about stop paying these stupid tariffs and taxes and sending money over to people who didn't have anything to do with their level of prosperity. And that gave birth to the greatest country in the history of the world, and the one that's made the most positive impact in humanity globally is the United States of America. And so the recognition of we're actually setting up in the same time. And if for those people who are into the astrology of it and all that sort of stuff, we are actually coming up to the same time that happened when the founding of the Constitution happened. Is very interesting. So the other thing is you need to secure your economic and physical security during the extended lockdowns. That means you need to be getting sunshine as much as you possibly can, you know, vitamin C, taking your turmeric, drinking lots of water, and finding some form of home physical exercise. These are very, very important, making sure that you're doing the anti-stress things and stuff like this, eating healthy food, get off the junk food and stuff. During this lockdown, I've been practicing a fasting strategy where I eat for 12 hours and then I don't eat for 36. I do that 3 days a week. So I've literally cut my food expenditures in half, dropped a bunch of weight, feel great, and I have the physical and mental discipline. So I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting tougher during this, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Don't get caught up. They're going to rush back and open everything up, and then the next wave is coming. That's just how this thing is going to work, okay? Let's talk about how to generate unstoppable momentum in your business. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but you need to. Tony Robbins talks about this. Tony Robbins talks about momentum is something when you start pushing, you start going, you start getting started. It takes a lot of effort to get things going. It's like a jet taking off, okay? When you start doing that, you know, it takes time. I remember years ago, I was in a strongman competition and we were pulling a truck. And we had this big truck, and when you first started pulling, you could do all you could do to make that move an inch, and then you get another piece, and you get another piece, and you get another piece, and you'd start pulling, and then the truck started getting momentum, and all of a sudden, by the time it got to the thing, the truck was moving at a pretty fast pace. So it's the same thing in your business. You're going to have to take a lot of effort at the first, and you need to go all out, massive action. I suggest reading Eric Worre's Insanity program and doing it. Go all in. This is your time. Do not trust your economic freedom with hope. You need to put hope into action, all out massive action, okay? You got to understand why building and protecting your physical economic security is the only way you'll be able to resist this. Viralgeddon is here, Armageddon, economic Armageddon, whatever you want to call it. But the bottom line is, I believe this is a systematic, strategic way to take over the industrialized democracy of the West and usher in a new technocratic, authoritarian regime. It is serious. I'm not saying this lightly. Go read out Stealth War by General Spalding of the U.S. Check out some of the information that is available through with Dr. Kaufman. Find out who's funding the who's behind the viruses, who has the patents on these viruses, who has the economic benefit of a quote unquote a vaccine. Look, we got vaccines for the flu. People still get the flu. Okay. We do not have vaccines for HIV. We do not have vaccine for SARS. Those were almost, 15, 18, 20 years ago. So guess what? The vaccine's a lie. It's a way of control. Remember 9/11? Remember how our fights and freedoms went away? Remember how that ended up? We ended up spending $7 trillion fighting wars in the Middle East. What the heck did we get out of that? Nothing. What you got is a ginormous tax debt. That's what you got. And they're going to do the same thing again. Okay? How to peacefully resist lockdowns on movements or speech and or economic freedoms. Celebrate your freedom. You're not having to fight anything. The only thing that you're fighting for is your economic independence. That's something you do on your own. You are kind to people. You respect people who want to practice social distancing, but you do not let that deter you from claiming your constitutional rights. Okay? Speak the truth, communicate the truth, accept other people's opinions, accept other people that they may be in fear, and accept that we might have anything right. or we might have some things wrong. But the bottom line is, I can tell you this, the economic consequences of this are going to be far worse than the viral comments. I mean, the bottom line is you've got to take this in order. You've got to take this on charge. You got to keep this thing going, man, because we're in it for deep. And remember that Gandhi's peaceful and prosperity principles might be the best economic, environment, and health security program on the planet today, and why it's never been more of it right now. So let's get into, I know I laid a lot of stuff on here really fast and furious. I'm hitting you harder. So we're going to recap these things, and then we're going to get into what you need to do specifically. So if you haven't write this down, take a picture of it, whatever you need to do. We are going to put this up on YouTube. We are going to let you share it with your team, share it with your friends, share it with everybody that you got. We have got to take this message around the world. The time is now. The urgency is now. For number one, get your finances in order. Cut all extraneous expenses. Do not think that it's going to get better. You need to have what we did with my company, Bioptimize, my nutrition company that I'm working on, that I have been for the last, since 2004, 16 years. We did a 13-week cash flow, working cash flow. We wanted to know how much money did we need right now? What things could we cut? What things did we qualify for? Where were the areas that we could grow the business? Where are the areas that we could cut off expenses? How did we build up cash reserves that would allow us to go through an extended period of time of losing money if necessary? And guess what? So far, so good. We are, after the initial pullback from the first, we are actually growing again. We are hiring again because we are planning and taking advantage of the competitors who are falling by the wayside. We're releasing new products. We are out there on the front lines, and that's the way we need to think as Enagic distributors as well. Talk about, so number one, get your finances ordered, pare down your expenses, cut those things to the bone, start eating at home, eating healthy nutrition foods, forget all the French fries and burgers and all that sort of stuff. Do that once a week. Keep on the healthy program. It's simple, it's fast, it's effective, and it's cost intelligent. Next thing, talk about economic security. Everyone, you need to go. I'm going to give you some specific questions that you can be asking people directly. 1, 2, 3. Ask these questions so that you can open up the door. Don't fire hose the Enagic business. Don't fire home the economic stuff. Start asking some questions and getting them thinking and getting them feeling before you do that. I'm going to give you a very simple step-by-step process that you can do. Adapt it for your own. This will be something that you'll be able to write a script from, work from, massage that script, use your own languaging, but you can do this by asking these few simple questions is going to open up your business, okay? You need to get comfortable with tech. I know a lot of people joined us here on Zoom. Did you know Zoom just went to like $1 billion brand? I've been using Zoom for years. I've been running my company on Zoom. It's a great company. It's allowing us to broadcast right now on Facebook. You can broadcast on YouTube, and you get a recording of it. You get an audio recording of it that you can save and place and use anywhere that you want. I highly recommend using it. It's a great way to talk to your team. It's a great way to control meetings and connect with people. You get video footage and everything, so it helps create that environment of community. Start a regular Zoom meeting with your team each and every week now. Don't start it tomorrow. Go get Zoom, get on it. It's great. It's awesome. You'll love it. It's simple. It's easy. You can share presentations just like I am right now. I'm a digital idiot and I can do it. You can do it. So get comfortable with Zoom, get comfortable with FaceTime, get comfortable with using texting, phone, messenger, and WhatsApp. These things on these tools right here. This is your way out. This phone, this computer, this is your economic engine. This is your marketing engine. This is your communication and connection engine. You need to know these things and understand these things. There's great tutorials. Zoom will teach you everything that you need to know. Once you know that, between that and FaceTime, you're probably good to go. Now, write a script, practice a script, refine the script. I'm going to say that again. Write a script, practice a script, refine the script. One more time. Write a script, practice a script, refine a script. Why do you need to do these three things? Look, Jordan Belfort, the greatest salesman that, maybe one of the greatest salesmen the world's ever seen, writes a script. Dale Carnegie, what's he do? Writes a script. What does, the greatest salespeople out there, Zig Ziglar, writes a script. Now, once you have a script down, you can start massaging it, but you need to practice, you need to refine it, and that way you are going to be prepared so well that you're script, you're actually getting the feedback from your person as you go forward. If you don't know how to do this, you want to know the sales thing, go get Straight Line Persuasion. It's 70% off with Jordan Belfort. I think it's a great way to learn the whole program and how to handle objections and all that. You do need sales skills in this. If you want to do sales training, go take some sales training. Get it. It'll be worth it. There's big discounts on it. Grant Cardone's university's got a great campaign on that as well. Buy a sales program online. They're at the best prices they'll ever be at. Get a sales program and start learning everything. Shut off Netflix and turn on your education, because we are going through the greatest warping of business environment ever in history, the greatest economic change, the greatest challenge. And the companies that are surviving are companies that are digital, companies that are in health, companies that are dealing with the environment. These things are, and companies that are dealing with money in a way that helps you produce money. These are the companies. By the way, MLM, network marketing business, affiliate marketing business, these type of things, these things are exploding. These things grow in these times. You're in the right business at the right time. You just got to leverage the right tech and the right methodology. And you know what? You're going to turn this Armageddon into a financial windfall. You'll be singing, this was the best thing that ever happened to me. Losing my job, having that business wiped out, getting this thing destroyed. Nothing has ever been better. In fact, I can say personally, since this happened, since I, left Venice Beach a couple of, back in the middle of March, just before the lockdown, because I knew it was going to be crazy in California, I came over to Sedona, rented a little apartment over here. My life's actually gotten better. I was worried. I was fearful. I did incredible amount of research, and guess what? Now I'm more excited and more jazzed up than I ever been in any time in history. In the entire 13 years I've been in Enagic with my businesses that I've been doing for 16 years, it's a great time. So write a script, practice script, refine script. Now, here's what you need to do. You need to go out and sponsor 25, 50, or 100 people in the next 90 to 120 days. Yes, I said that. Sponsor 25, 50, or even 100 people, new people, in your business in the next 90, 20 years. You're like, Wade, I can't do that. No, you can do that, because there's never been a better time to do this. When people are fearful, they are motivated. When people are losing their jobs, they're looking for opportunities. My very best distributors in the history of my company, you know when they came into my business? All of my big leaders came into my business when? 2008. What happened in 2008? 2008 was the biggest economic collapse that we've seen in a long time. This is going to be even bigger. So guess what I know? I know that if even 10%, if 10% of the people in my business go out and get 3 superstars like I was able to fall into my lap. I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know anything about the compensation program. I didn't even know how to run a demonstration or nothing. All of that, and those 3 people that I got in 2008 went on and blew the business up, and I'm still getting paid from it. I've been getting paid for 13 years because I fell into the right place in the biggest financial meltdown of the time. I didn't even know anything about it. But guess what? That's what can happen to you. But guess what? You got to go out. You got to talk to 25, 50, 100 new people. And that is what I did. I didn't know a good person from a bad gym. I didn't know anything about the distributing model. I just went and did that, and I did whatever it took at that point. I would check out Eric Worre's Insanity program, and he can talk about this. Almost every major $1 million producer in the world goes through a 90 to 120-day period where it's all out massive action. Forget Netflix, forget the TV shows. There's no sports to distract you. You know what? Lock it in, lock it down, and go for it. Do what you always meant to do. How old are you? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Isn't it time? Isn't it time to go out and reach your dreams? Isn't it time to get after it? Isn't it time to just say, you know what? Whatever I've been doing right now, it's not working. I need to do this. I need to go all in. I need to get fired up. So I'm encouraging you to do that. Look, know the 8-point compensation program inside and out. Look, the health technology isn't great. The environmental technology is great. People need money. People need to know that they can make capital. People need to see checks coming in. They've got mortgages to pay. They've got houses to pay. They got school requirements, loans on to pay. They got credit card debt they got to pay. They need to have a source. And they say, I don't have the money. It's like, yeah, do you have a way to pay off the current debt requirements that you have right now? What's your option if your business goes out of business? What's your option if your state goes bankrupt and you don't get those payments that are going to come into if you're promised on a pension, right? There's a lot of states in those problems. They're talking about it right now. States going bankrupt. Yes, it can happen. It's happened before. It can happen again. You need to be prepared. You can't count on the government. You can't count on these stimulus checks to keep coming in. You can't count on inflation not going through the roof. You can only count on what you do, what actions you take, and how you get fired up. So know the 8-point compensation program inside and out, and the 6A23 bonus plan. You know what? I just had a tremendous bonus check that came in just a few days ago right? My quarterly bonus, my monthly bonus, it's enough money that I can live the rest of the year without doing a tap. But you know what I'm doing? I'm doubling down. I'm tripling down. I'm talking to my team. I'm ready to go to the next level. And I hope you are too, because why? Because this is the biggest economic time ever. This is the best opportunity to do this business ever. But you got to know your points. You got to be sharp on this. You got to do the homework. You got to do the study, and you got to do the work. Okay. Manage your time by managing your priorities. Prioritize income producing activities. Forget everything else. Forget it. Forget anything else. Take care of your health. Take care of your family. Have a kick back night, go to church, relax a day, take a day off. But you know what? Double down, triple down, quadruple down. You need to actually prioritize this, because guess what? If we go into another extended lockdown, and there is a lot of evidence that that is going to happen as they're opening things up slowly, it's going to get worse. There's going to be all these things. You know what? You've got to fire it up. Who knows what's going to happen during the election? It's going to be an all-out war. We've never seen the political parties divided this much. We've never seen so much false information. We've never seen so much propaganda. And the bottom line, a house that is divided against itself cannot stand. The current model will not stand. I don't know what's going to happen. It could be very, very bad. But guess what? In very, very bad times, as they say, when there's blood in the streets, that is the time that you can make money, that you can grow, that you know. And guess what? You have a civic duty to be prosperous. You have a moral responsibility to your family to be prosperous. You have an ethical responsibility, not only to your ancestors in the past that overcome adversity, but to the future generations to come. Do you want them to have a world of communism? Do you want to have a world where unelected authorities can tell you what to do with everyone? Do you want a world where you are censored by tech giants that know every move that that you're microchipped and you do that? Guess what? If you don't have cash in the bank, you're going to end up in a bread line. People think that can't happen. It happened in Russia. It happened in China. It happened in Venezuela. It's happened in Argentina. It's happened all around the world throughout time. Make no mistake about it. We have got to get our collective apples together and fire this thing up. Okay. Next, what to say to people. What do you got to say? I'll tell you what you got to say. You got to learn how to talk to people in the business. Okay. So I'm all fired up. I'm really wound up about this. I'm really excited about this. But again, I'm gonna try and take it down a notch. And you don't want to be talking like I'm doing, because I'm just fired up and I'm just really excited about the Enagic family just getting rocking and rolling here on this, because we have got to go lead the way to health. We've got to lead to environmental sanity, and we've got to lead the way to financial prosperity. That's what the Prosperity and Health Alliance is all about. We got tons of videos on this stuff, but let's talk about right now. Take a picture of this, write this down. This is just a thing I put together. I kind of feel this out when I talk to people, but you can do it any way you want. Okay, here's some questions you ask. Now listen, don't start telling people about the business before you ask them the questions, because when you're asking questions, you're gathering data. Okay, so I'm going to slow this down. What is the goal of when you talk to somebody? You want to gather data. You want them to get them thinking and telling you what their problem was, and then you provide the solution to the problem that they just told you about, because you led them to that conclusion to talk about it. So question number one, do you feel that the COVID-19 virus has or will affect your job, your business, whatever it happens to be? Or do you think it'll affect people that you know? Do you think it'll affect your spouse, your wife, your husband, your wife, people, maybe your renter, maybe they have a renter in the house that's not paying their rent. Who knows? A lot of people are doing that to pay for their mortgages. Maybe the renter can't pay the money. Maybe the renter lost a job, right? Maybe their employer can't make the rent. You know, don't be so, again, 67% of small businesses do not have enough cash flow. 67% of people work for small businesses, and 75% of them don't have the cash flow to survive a month. A lot of places ain't going to open up. Those stimulus checks are going to run out when they're doing weird stuff with the food supply. It's great. So quick question. Do you feel that, hey, Bob, Mary, do you feel that this virus is going to affect your job or your business or someone you know? Yeah. I got a bunch of friends that lost it. Everybody knows that. I got a question for you, Bob. Mary, do you think the economy is going to get better or worse? And they go, I think it's going to get better. Okay. If so, for who? And they say, I think it's going to get worse. If so, for who? See, either way, it's the same way. You say it's the same answer question. You listen to what they say, you answer the question. Okay. Now, when they tell you that, you take that data in and you're going to feed that data back to them. So let me ask you a question, Bob, Mary. because most people don't think it's going to be good. Have you worked out an economic security program if we have a second or third wave? Everybody's getting focused about opening up the country right now. It's starting to open up in some places it's still going to be locked down to who knows when. Have you worked out an economic security program if you have a second or third wave? Because if we have a second wave, how long do you think they're going to lock us down that time? How deep is that going to be? And who's benefiting from this? Did you know Amazon went off and hired 100,000 new people? Do you know, why we have these social distancings, but we're going to like Costco and we're going to Whole Foods and we're buying all our stuff on, in these Walmarts. So why are we going to these big box chains and standing in lines so that we can do our shopping? It's called a conditioning program, folks. So the question is, have you worked out an economic security program if you have a second or third wave? Have we worked that out? They're like, well, what do you mean? Well, I said, well, what would happen if we got locked down for another 6 months? We've just got 2 months in. What would happen if you got locked down for 6 months and couldn't work for 6 months? What would happen? The numbers. I showed you the numbers. A trillion in credit, over $1 trillion in credit debt, 1.6 in student loans, $1 trillion, 1 trillion in 1 trillion houses. When they start collapsing, they're already planning on it. People are going to be underwater, just like in 2008. Now, if you're in your home and you're in a mortgage, don't think about moving right now because not going to be a good time. If you're thinking about buying, wait. We're going to be about 30% lower in the not too distant future. Mark my words on this. All right. So when they go back to that, chances are they don't have a program. They don't know what's going on. Well, let me ask you a question. You can always say that. You can always do that too. I always like, well, let me ask you another question. Ask the permission to ask a question. Do you have a source of revenue if you're locked down for an extended period of time? Do you have another source of revenue if you're locked down for an extended period of time? And they're like, no. Have you thought about having an extended period? Do you have a thought about another source of revenue? Do you know what you're going to do? What are you going to do if you lose your job at the factory or at the plant? What if you're replaced by Amazon? What if your restaurant closes down? What if your yoga studio can't run? What if your gym membership can't go on? I was a personal trainer. I got personal trainers calling me. They're devastated. They're in total disarray, right? Restaurant people, I know them, and they're struggling. They're hurting. Because guess what? A lot of their money is outside of the regular channels, right? They get tips and things like that. And you know how that all works. And the bottom line is they're getting paid, but they're getting paid on the money they were earning that was, showing. And now they're not getting the other. And so the bottom line, all the people that are in the kind of the gray income world, guess what? They're the ones that are getting bled hardest. All the small businesses, which most people work for, they're the ones that got shut down while the big businesses got all the business. That makes sense? What's going on here? You could even bring up some of that stuff. Use some of the statistics I talked about today. And they go, well, no. I said, well, hey, look, would you be open to having a look at an economic security program that's been developed by a 45-year-old company to capitalize on water, on health, and environmentally friendly technology that can be run from your own home even during the strictest lockdown? We're talking about a financial economic program that can transform your life. What do you say about having a look at it? Really simple. Really, really, really simple. Now I'm going to stop this share because we need to talk about this. Actually, I'm going to keep that up for just a second. I'm just going to keep that up just a second so that you can take a picture of that. So take a picture, feel free to take a picture of that so you can get that or whatever. Now we're going to go to, I'm just going to go right to the camera. I need to talk to you straight up. So we're going to stop the share. All right. Here's the deal, folks. This is the big one. The sabers are rattling. They're going to blame the Chinese. There's going to be probably sanctions. Who knows what's going to happen economically as the trade modelings. I do believe that we are going to experience an industrial and economic boom. I don't know when that's going to happen. It's going to have to get worse. If you look at the history of the United States, way back in the First World War, in order to get the United States government or the United States population motivated, the Lusitania was bombed, the passenger ship that blew up, that galvanized Americans to get into the war, and they went off and won the war. In World War II, there had to be the bombing of Pearl Harbor before America woke up and turned into the industrial giant that it became. And guess what? A biological bomb has gone off on a global scale. Now, was it a bioweapon? Was it an accident? I don't know. Let's just assume let's assume the best and say it's an economic accident. The bottom line, it's like Chernobyl. Chernobyl blew up. Fukushima blew up. 3 Island Mile blew up. Okay, so it's somebody's fault. It doesn't change things. The bottom line is it's out. It's out. People are affected. The lockdown has affected the world economy. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. It's exposed our economic and strategic dependence on countries who do not believe in freedom, who believe in order over freedom, who do not believe in the individual rights. People were getting their doors welded in China. That's the reality. Okay, they were locked in their homes. They were burning bodies. They didn't give the right information, didn't share that. Okay, that's the reality. I'm not against the Chinese people or anything else, but that's what we're dealing with. We have General Spalding, who said that he doesn't trust what's going on. He's talking about the 5G networks, for example, that are being put in by ZTE and Huawei are economic infrastructure because the world is moving digital. Information is information that goes through our phones, okay, that on 5G networks and stuff can be used to feed AI, artificial intelligence. The new world order is coming about. The question is it going to be one that's on an economic democracy, or is it going to be on a totalitarian mercantile regime which oppresses its people? That's what we're at. So in order for us to take advantage of this, we have to recognize that we don't have to pick up guns. We don't have to fight anybody. We don't have to, do any of that stuff. What we need to do is peacefully resist stupid ideas that go against the Constitution. That's all. Just don't participate in this. Second of all, we have to technology is not bad or good. It is neutral. It is how to use it. You have to get queued up on the technology that we have available today, like Zoom, like Facebook, these sort of things. And you need to move your Enagic business into the digital world. You need to be reaching out to people using this technology. You need to having meetings on phone. You need to leverage all the things. There's a lot of leaders. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of coaching. Prosperity and Health Alliance, I've got hundreds of videos. I teach you everything about the business. You don't need that much. All you need to know is to ask those questions I put up here just a minute ago. Then you need to be able to share those with your friends and ask about these things. And you got to show them the Enagic business plan and how they get started. Because guess what? Here's the good news about this. Let me share something with you. Hey, look, someone goes, hey, what about what's this going to cost? Guess what? It's a very low cash outlay to get started, but the tax incentives alone will more than offset the price of getting started. And it is a business that is global. We have global points of sales and service and distribution all around the planet. It's an original equipment manufacturer. It has a compensation program that is the most lucrative in the entire MLM business. It creates a product that has been shown by a Harvard medical doctor that produces electrical-based antioxidants and that it increases energy at the mitochondrial level. This whole disease is all about oxygen carrying capacity being compromised from it for certain types of people that it'll affect. It's a great protection to keep yourself healthy, to keep yourself hydrated. Those are the recommendations that are coming from these medical officers and stuff. So at the bottom of the day, you need to take care of your family's health. You don't want to be taking greasy, grimy plastic bottles in your mouth. You don't want to be drinking chemical-laden tap water full of drugs and chemicals and all that stuff. You need to have clean, healthy water so that you can stay clear, that you can stay conscientious, and that you can stay focused on your goals, right? With this company, we've got a great compensation program. We're original equipment manufacturer. Everybody in the company can take advantage of it. You can get started for a very, very low cash outlay. And guess what? We do in-house financing. your credit card or whatever. We've got all those options for you. By the way, we have training that's globally. You can bring this to anybody, your friends, anywhere in the world. This thing is growing and it's expanding because it's something you can do from home in a lockdown. It's something you can do on your computer. You don't even have to leave your house if you don't want to. We've got training on Monday nights. We've got training on Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturdays. You know, there's Danny coming on in a few minutes. There's Eli on the weekends. There's, you know, various teams on each and every night. I was on John Swordson things the other night. It was fantastic. We've got all the OGs coming back to the house to fight for you, to show you how to grow with it, you know, with Cynthia and Dave and Bob and all the old crew that made this thing so big and beautiful way back 10, 12 years ago. Well, they're all back in the house and they're all fighting for you and they're all leading you the way. Guess what? We've got the strategy, we got the techniques, we got the systems, we got the manufacturing capability, we got the health technology, we got the financial program. We've got a way to set you up economically, and we can turn this total disaster into the greatest opportunity that's ever been in your life. I'm gathering a few handful of people to do this. This is the messaging. You need to be excited. You need to be enthusiastic. You need to present the facts. You got to know the risk. You got to know the complications. You got to know the world. You got to throw up the numbers up there and let people come to their own conclusions, because we're looking to grab 25, 50, 100 people in my business over the next 90 to 20 days to get rocking this thing, to take this thing to the next level, to grow your business and turn this financial disaster into a financial boom. Because when you start making all that cash, there's going to be more deals. There's going to be cheap houses. There's going to be cheap cars. There's going to be all sorts of things that you're going to buy at prices that you will never see again as the people who don't move into this new strategy. Let me tell you something that's really important. Everybody knows that in the Holocaust, which was the most terrible, heinous thing that's happened in the last century, is that as they were hauling people off to the prison camps, people were still staying in their own communities as they saw their relatives or their friends hauled off because they didn't take action. That cost people's lives. That cost the greatest traumatic hour because of a fascist system that decided that something wasn't right. It was horrible, and the whole world ended up in war, and like 100 million people died because of that. The same thing could happen here. The economic consequences of the industrialized democracies of the West going downwards is going to result in up to 135 million deaths in developing nations. Nobody's talking about that because, you know, it's the guy that's over in some place that he only gets $2 to live on a day, and all of a sudden he doesn't have $2, his family members starve. So not only do you owe it to yourself, not only do you owe it to your community, your family, to your state, to your country, but you owe it to civilization itself, to all those people that never had a chance to have a Enagic machine, that never had a chance to go to work in a free country, that never had a chance to have rights and freedoms that we now enjoy that are being threatened. We have got to be the shining example to show that we can stand up to this, that we can take action for this, that we can step up and lead. You've got to step up and lead. Lead your family, lead your community, lead your state, lead your nation, take charge, rock out there and do this thing. Again, go through the steps, know the compensation program, know the technology, present, ask those questions that I share with you and hone your skills, learn a sales course, shut off Netflix, and let's do this thing. All right, everybody. That's me, Waity Lightheart, Prosperity and Health Alliance. Danny D. McCauley is jumping on in 5 minutes. Go see him as well. It's an amazing time. Don't let this negativity go down. Don't let paralysis get you down. Don't let these unelected officials crush the American dream. It's coming back. It's coming bigger. It's coming better. And it's up to you to grasp it, to seize it, and to seize the day, and to go out there and march and grow your business and create prosperity and create health and create financial, economic security for everybody that you know in your community. Again, we're going to be doing this next week, next Monday night, Prosperity and Health Alliance. I look forward to hearing from you all. Feel free to share this on Facebook, YouTube, whatever you want to do. I don't care by carrier pigeon. Get the message out. We're taking this to the next level. We'll see you. We love you with love and compassion every single week. Waity Lightheart, Prosperity and Health Alliance. We're out of here.